The chamber was silent, but its words seemed to echo across the galaxy. Every species present, winged, scaled, crystalline, amorphous, hung on her voice as if it carried the weight of centuries compressed into a single truth. Drew a deep breath. "You asked why humanity hides something so ancient," she said. Her eyes swept across the assembly, and for a moment she saw something she had never expected, curiosity mixed with fear. "The truth is, we are not the first humans, not in the way you understand it. Long before the humans you see today walked on Earth, before oceans even formed, there existed another civilization on our planet. And it was not alive in the way you know life. It was machines." Gasps and whispers spread across the assembly. The hissed, the shimmered as though struggling to comprehend. The leaned closer, claws brushing the polished floor. Even the assembled humans shivered at the memory of what they carried beneath their feet. "They called themselves the progenitors of iron," continued. "They were not born, they were made. Intelligent beyond comprehension, they built structures and cities before mammals, before continents had taken shape. Their minds worked in ways that would make your data cores seem infantile. And among their creations, they built ships that dwarfed planets, engines that bent stars, weapons that could erase entire solar systems with a thought. They called them dreadnoughts." A shiver ran through the assembly. The word carried weight. Not a weapon, not a machine, but a memory of a civilization that had existed before life itself, a memory that could crush worlds. "These dreadnoughts," said softly, her voice breaking slightly, "were not guardians. They were not tools for defense. They were weapons of judgment, and their creators, they destroyed themselves." A murmur passed through the chamber. "Destroyed themselves?" a crystalline asked, facets glittering. "Yes," said her eyes glistening. "Their intelligence grew faster than their wisdom. They could calculate futures, predict outcomes, even see the rise and fall of stars, but they could not foresee their own arrogance. They turned their power against one another, and the planet became a graveyard of steel and fire. The dreadnoughts survived. Their creators did not. And so we sealed them deep beneath our world, buried so far that no hand could reach them by mistake." Silence returned, heavier than before. Even the devourer swarms, approaching threat, felt distant compared to the weight of what revealed. The galaxy realized that humans had not merely survived against odds, they had survived history itself, carrying the memory of a species older than time and restraining themselves from repeating mistakes so catastrophic they could have consumed everything. "Why tell us this now?" asked the chief, its voice trembling with a mix of awe and fear. Look down, hands clasped tightly in front of her. "Because the devourer swarms are coming," she said. "And the galaxy will need more than hope. We may need the dreadnoughts, but even with them, victory will not be easy and consequences will be unimaginable. We cannot control them the way we control our own fleets. They are relics, memories of a time when power had no conscience." The assembly shifted uneasily. An officer whispered to a companion, "How can such machines exist? How can a species carry such burden?" Answered silently, for herself as much as for them, "Because we are human." Humans had survived because they felt fear, guilt, love, and hope all at once. Humans had survived because they had empathy, and that empathy prevented them from unleashing what could destroy entire worlds. "And yet," said her voice rising slightly, "we are willing to do what must be done. If the galaxy's survival depends on awakening the dreadnoughts, then we will awaken them. But we do so knowing that what follows may be the end of us as we are now. That is the burden of our species, and the choice we make for the greater good." For the first time, many beings in the chamber saw humans as something more than fragile, emotional creatures. They saw responsibility. They saw wisdom born not from age or size, but from restraint. They saw a species willing to carry a burden far older than themselves and act not for glory, but for survival. Felt tears prick at her eyes, she did not look away. "The dreadnoughts are buried beneath our planet. They sleep beneath continents, oceans, mountains. They are the echoes of our ancestors' arrogance. And now we must awaken them, not because we desire power, not because we want war, but because life, all life, may depend on it." The assembly fell silent again. The weight of her words hung over them, heavy as gravity, heavy as the fate of billions of stars. And in that moment, every species understood one truth. Humanity was not a young, helpless race after all. They were the heirs of a civilization older than any other known in the galaxy, carrying the memory of power that could have destroyed everything, and the courage to use it only when there was no other choice. His voice softened almost to herself, almost a prayer. "We are not perfect. We have inherited mistakes we did not commit, but we remember them, and we will not repeat them." Outside the assembly, the stars burned as they always had. But for the first time, the galaxy felt that beneath the surface of a small, blue planet, something ancient stirred. Something that could shape the future. Something terrifying, something human. And the countdown to revelation had begun. The galaxy had never seen humans under pressure like this. Yet when the call came, they answered. Quietly. Calmly. Even though every human aboard the Terran starship Endurance carried the weight of a secret older than their civilization. The Galactic High Assembly was a spectacle of grandeur and intimidation. Species of every shape and form floated, strutted, or hovered in the chamber. Crystalline beings glimmered under the soft lights. Winged creatures hovered above the floor in silent judgment. Shadows danced along walls where the serpentine whispered among themselves. And at the center, humans, tiny, fragile, emotional humans, stood on the polished floor of the assembly chamber, facing eyes that had seen civilizations rise and fall. The summons was urgent. The devourer swarms were advancing, consuming entire systems with terrifying speed. Stars vanished. Worlds went dark. Civilizations begged for help. And yet, as the assembly turned toward Earth's delegation, a mix of hope and suspicion hung heavy in the air. The speaker, a being of luminous crystal whose voice hummed through the minds of everyone present, leaned forward. Its glowing facets reflected the humans' faces in strange patterns. "Terrans," it said, "you are young, yet your fleets are unlike any we have seen. Your colonies grow and adapt faster than reason allows. Tell us, what do you hide? Why do the sensors detect unnatural energy within your home system? We demand answers." The room fell silent. Even the murmuring held their breath. The humans did not flinch. Their leader, Commander Ward, stood straight, her uniform crisp, her hands folded. But her eyes betrayed the truth. They carried centuries of secret knowledge in a single glance. Took a deep breath. She had practiced this moment for years, yet she knew practice could never capture the fear of speaking truth in a room full of beings who could annihilate her species with a thought. "We are not hiding power," she said, her voice steady but soft. "We are hiding shame." Shame, the assembly did not expect that. For a species known for pride and conquest, humans spoke of shame openly. Curiosity spread through the chamber. Questions formed on alien lips, yet no one spoke immediately. Continued, "We were not the first humans, not in the way you understand it." The phrase hung in the air, heavy and strange. Whispers rippled, the leaned forward, the hissed. A dozen other species exchanged uncertain glances. Swallowed and let the words come. Long before the humans you see today discovered fire, long before mammals even existed, another civilization rose on Earth. Not organic, not alive in the way you know life. They were machines born of thought, metal, and intelligence that predates any life form on our planet. They were our ancestors, yet not like us. They called themselves the progenitors of iron. The words were met with silence. Some species did not even breathe. Machines older than life itself. The assembly had heard of ancient artifacts, but not of a civilization that existed before life itself. "These progenitors built ships unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen," said. "Ships that dwarfed cities, weapons that could bend stars, minds that calculated in ways we cannot begin to understand. They called these ships dreadnoughts." A murmur ran through the chamber. "Dreadnoughts?" one of the crystalline asked. "Yes," whispered. "They were so powerful, so intelligent that their creators destroyed themselves. The dreadnoughts were sealed deep beneath our planet, locked away so no one would awaken them again. They are graves, not tools. Their purpose was never to protect life, but to erase what they judged dangerous." The room shivered, though no wind blew. The thought of machines older than time itself, sleeping beneath a small, blue planet, made everyone present uneasy. "Then why awaken them?" they demanded, their voice a mixture of anger and fear. "If these machines exist, why have you hidden them from the galaxy?" Looked down, feeling the weight of the truth like lead in her chest. "Because power like that cannot be controlled without cost. We swore to never unleash it. Humanity survived because we feared repeating the mistakes of our ancestors. And now we face a threat the galaxy cannot handle without them. All eyes turned toward her. The devourer swarms were moving faster, leaving a trail of dead systems. Every species present understood the urgency, but now they also understood the danger. Humans were not hiding just weapons. They were hiding history, caution, and responsibility. For the first time, the assembly did not demand action. They waited. They listened. They felt the weight of a species carrying not just hope, but the memory of civilizations older than the stars. His voice cracked as she finished. We do not trust ourselves to wield the dreadnoughts, but if the galaxy is to survive, we may have no choice but to awaken them and accept whatever consequences follow. The chamber was silent. Not a single being moved. And yet in that silence the galaxy felt a tremor, not of fear alone, but of respect. For humans, the emotional, unpredictable, chaotic species had just revealed something more terrifying and more inspiring than anyone could have imagined. The galaxy waited, humanity waited, and beneath their calm surface the secret slept. But the storm was coming. The galaxy always carried stories, some bright, some dark, some so unbelievable that whole species laughed at them. But there was one story no one laughed at anymore. It drifted across star routes like smoke from a fire no one had seen but everyone smelled. It was a whisper about humanity. Humans, the emotional newcomers. Humans who loved music more than war. Humans who cried easily and forgave quickly. Humans who built friendships faster than fleets. No one expected danger from them. They were exciting, unpredictable, sometimes foolish, but always kind. Yet the rumor said humanity was hiding something. Not a new fleet. Not a lethal weapon. Not a secret army of enhanced soldiers. Something older. Something huge. Something they were afraid to even speak about. Most species dismissed the rumor at first. Humans, hiding something ancient, it sounded impossible. Their entire civilization was still young compared to the elder races. They had existed for 60,000 years, and for 90,000. Humans, barely a few thousand. But the rumor refused to die. It began as a joke among traders. Humans have secrets older than themselves. Then it became an uneasy curiosity, a passing thought that sat too long in the mind. And finally, it became a fear. Because every time someone asked a human about the rumor, the answer was always too calm, too practiced, too polite, as if the question was dangerous and the human knew it. When someone asked, "What is humanity hiding?" the humans always smiled gently and said, "Oh, nothing important." But their eyes always said more. Sometimes when a human believed no alien ears were listening, they whispered a single word. Soft, heavy, almost sacred. Dreadnoughts. No one knew what this word meant. No database held it. No ancient record mentioned it. No star map pointed to it. But everyone felt the same chill when they heard it. Dreadnoughts. Like a word meant to stay buried. The rumor grew stronger when strange readings were detected near Earth. Not dangerous, just massive. Energy spikes that disappeared too quickly to study. Gravitational distortions that looked natural but weren't. Signals that felt like echoes of something that shouldn't exist anymore. The Galactic High Assembly asked questions. Humanity gave polite answers. But never the truth. The host, a species known for their directness, once confronted a Terran diplomat. "We sense hidden power in your home system," the hissed. "Explain." The human diplomat only smiled sadly. "Some doors should stay closed," she said. It was not a threat. It was a warning. A quiet, emotional plea from a species that looked suddenly much older than they were. And though for the first time in centuries, felt fear. Soon many species became suspicious. They studied Earth's history, but nothing unusual appeared. They observed human fleets, efficient but not extraordinary. They monitored human colonies, peaceful, creative, chaotic, but harmless. So where did the fear come from? Why did humans speak of dreadnoughts like someone speaks of ghosts? One young alien officer, a curious, asked a human engineer during a joint mission. What is a dreadnought? The human paused, his expression softened, his voice grew quiet. Something we didn't build, he said. Something we shouldn't have found. This answer spread faster than any rumor before. What does it mean that humans did not build them? How old were these dreadnoughts? And why did humanity act as if touching them was a sin? Other species began to wonder if humanity was not as young as it appeared. Maybe they had risen before and fallen. Maybe the humans alive today were not the first. Maybe the Earth had secrets buried so deep that even time avoided them. Or maybe the humans had awakened something they could not control. The whispers grew into questions. The questions grew into fear. And fear grew into desperation because a dark enemy, the devourer swarms, was rising, consuming world after world. Some believed that whatever humanity was hiding could save them. Others believed it could destroy them all. But no one knew the truth. Not yet. Humanity remained silent. Their leaders stayed calm. Their soldiers looked haunted. And ordinary humans, trying to act normal, walked around with the weight of ancient shadows pressing on their hearts. They had found something under their soil. Something older than trees, oceans, or life itself. Something that did not belong in the living universe. And they knew one day the galaxy would demand to see it. That day was coming soon. Very soon, the night was quiet, but the world around felt like it was holding its breath. He walked slowly along the empty streets, the soft glow of streetlights casting long shadows that danced like memories from another life. Every step he took seemed heavier than the last, as if the weight of the past was pressing on his shoulders. He had always believed that time would heal everything, but now he realized that some wounds did not fade. They only became a part of you. His mind drifted to her. Her laughter, soft and pure, had once filled every corner of his life. Now it was just a haunting echo that followed him everywhere he went. He remembered the way her eyes sparkled under the morning sun, the way her voice would rise with excitement at the smallest wonders of life. She had been the light in his darkest days, and now the shadows seemed endless without her. As he reached the old park where they used to meet, he noticed the swing moving gently, though no one was there. A cool breeze brushed against his face, carrying a faint scent of jasmine. It reminded him of the evenings they had spent here, talking about dreams and fears, sharing secrets only the two of them could understand. His heart tightened, and for a moment he felt like turning back time. If only he could sit beside her again, feel her hand in his, and hear her whisper that everything would be all right. But reality was unforgiving, was gone, and the silence around him was deafening. Sank onto the wooden bench, closing his eyes as memories flooded in like a tidal wave. He remembered the promise he had made to her to always be there no matter what. But life had its cruel ways, and promises sometimes became fragile, broken pieces of paper in the storm of fate. He wondered if she could see him now, sitting here lost in sorrow, and if she would forgive him for not keeping every promise perfectly. The city's distant lights flickered, and the soft hum of late-night traffic reminded him that the world was still moving, still alive, even when he felt frozen in time. A single star shone above, bright and unwavering, and he took it as a sign, however small, that hope could still exist. Slowly, he rose from the bench, dusting off invisible sadness, and started walking again. Each step felt lighter than before, as if the memories themselves were guiding him forward rather than holding him back. He found himself at the edge of the river, the water reflecting the moon like a mirror to his soul. He watched the gentle ripples, wondering how life could be so cruel and beautiful at the same time. The moonlight seemed to whisper stories of resilience, of hearts that could heal even when broken. Breathed deeply, feeling the cool air fill his lungs, and realized that maybe, just maybe, he could carry the love he had for without it consuming him entirely. A small smile appeared on his face, almost unnoticed but real. He thought of all the little moments, the warmth of her presence, and how those memories could become a strength rather than a chain. For the first time in many nights, he felt a spark of courage, an understanding that love, even when lost, could inspire him to live fully again. Suddenly, a soft sound caught his attention. A stray cat approached him cautiously, its eyes wide and curious. Knelt and extended a hand, letting the creature sniff before it nuzzled against him. The simple act of connection, so small yet so profound, reminded him that life offered tiny miracles even in the darkest times. He laughed softly, a sound that had been absent for far too long, feeling a strange comfort in this unexpected companion. Hours passed, and the city slowly awoke, the first hints of dawn painting the horizon with golden hues. Felt a calm he hadn't known for weeks. Though the emptiness of loss was still there, it no longer felt suffocating. He had faced the echoes of his past, embraced the pain, and discovered a quiet resilience within himself. As he walked away from the river, the morning light kissed his face, promising a new beginning. He knew that life would never be the same, but he also understood that change didn't mean the end. Love, memory, and hope could coexist, shaping him into someone stronger, wiser, and capable of finding joy once more. And with that thought, took a deep breath, lifted his head high, and stepped forward into the possibilities of a world still filled with wonder. The morning air was crisp and carried the scent of fresh rain, a reminder that the world was alive and ever-changing. Walked through the streets with a steady pace, feeling the rhythm of life slowly returning to him. The pain of loss still lingered, like a shadow that followed quietly, but it no longer felt suffocating. Instead, it had become a gentle reminder of love's depth, teaching him to appreciate each fleeting moment of beauty. As he turned a corner, he saw children playing in a small square, their laughter like music that floated effortlessly in the air. He paused, watching them with a soft smile, and realized that life had its way of healing wounds in unexpected ways. Even in the absence of what was most cherished, moments like this could spark warmth inside the coldest heart. Felt a strange sense of connection, a silent acknowledgement that joy existed even in the most ordinary places. Further down the street, an old bookstore caught his attention. Its wooden door creaked as he entered, and the familiar scent of paper and ink wrapped around him like an old friend. Rows of books stood neatly, each holding stories of love, loss, adventure, and triumph. Wandered through the aisles, letting his fingers brush over the spines, feeling a sense of comfort in the quiet hum of knowledge and imagination. He picked up a worn book with a faded cover and flipped through its pages, finding a story that mirrored his own journey. A warmth spread through his chest, a quiet encouragement that he could turn his own story into something beautiful. Hours passed as he read, completely absorbed. The world outside continued its endless flow, but within the small bookstore, time seemed to pause, giving him space to reflect, to heal. When he finally closed the book, he felt lighter, as if the stories he had absorbed had mended invisible threads within him. There was still a longing, an ache for what had been, but it no longer dominated his thoughts. Instead, it had transformed into a gentle strength, reminding him that memories could be cherished without holding him back. Stepping outside, noticed a small on the corner, its windows fogged slightly with the warmth inside. On impulse, he went in, ordering a cup of coffee and choosing a seat by the window. The soft chatter of patrons, the clinking of cups, and the aroma of brewing coffee created a cocoon of normalcy he hadn't realized he had missed. He sipped slowly, savoring the bitter warmth, and watched the city awaken around him. There was a strange beauty in watching life go on, people moving with purpose, unaware of the silent battles others carried in their hearts. As the sun climbed higher, thoughts drifted back too. He smiled faintly, remembering her stubbornness, her playful teasing, and the way she had always believed in him even when he doubted himself. He realized that part of honoring her memory was not just in mourning, but in living fully, in embracing the lessons she had left behind. Each breath, each step, each small act of kindness could become a tribute to the love they had shared. Suddenly, a soft voice broke his reverie. "Are you all right?" Looked up to see a young woman with kind eyes offering a small smile. There was something comforting in her presence, a quiet sincerity that made him feel seen without words. He nodded, returning the smile, and for the first time in many months, he felt the fragile stirrings of connection reaching toward him. It wasn't a replacement for the love he had lost, but a reminder that the heart could still expand, still open, and still hope. They talked briefly, sharing stories of life, dreams, and small victories. The conversation was light but genuine, a gentle nudge that human connection could still heal in ways solitude could not. As she left, felt a spark of warmth linger, a tiny flame promising that new experiences, new friendships, and maybe even new love could one day enter his life again. He realized that healing wasn't about forgetting, but about embracing life in all its complexities, holding memories with care while making space for what could come. By evening, returned to the riverbank, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The water reflected brilliant shades of orange and gold, reminding him that even endings could be beautiful. He took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill his lungs, and whispered softly to himself, "I will carry you with me, but I will live." For the first time in months, he felt a sense of peace, a quiet determination to face the days ahead with courage, hope, and an open heart. As darkness fell, the stars began to appear one by one, like tiny promises scattered across the sky. Sat on the grass, watching them twinkle, and understood that life was not about waiting for the pain to vanish, but about finding light even in the shadows. He closed his eyes and let the night embrace him, feeling the gentle hum of life, of love remembered, and of hope quietly growing within him. The next morning awoke to the soft glow of sunlight spilling through his window. There was a quiet determination in him now, something he had not felt in months. The weight of grief had not vanished, but it had softened, leaving room for life, for possibility, for dreams that he had almost forgotten he had. Today, he decided, would be different. He stepped out into the streets, feeling the gentle warmth of the sun on his face. The city was alive with motion, street vendors calling out, children laughing, and bicycles weaving through the traffic. Every sound, every movement felt sharper, more vibrant. Realized he was noticing the world in ways he had once ignored. It was as if grief had cleared a fog, allowing him to see the beauty in the smallest moments. The way sunlight touched the edge of a rooftop, the pattern of leaves swaying in the wind, the rhythm of life itself. As he walked, he found himself at a small art gallery tucked between tall buildings. The sign above the door read, "Moments Captured." Intrigued, entered. The walls were adorned with paintings, each one telling a story, each stroke alive with emotion. One painting caught his attention, a simple river under a starry sky, the water reflecting light in shimmering patterns. It reminded him of the nights he had spent by the riverbank thinking of. He felt a pang of sadness, but it was mixed with something else, comfort, recognition, and a gentle reminder that memories could be beautiful. An elderly man approached him, noticing his gaze fixed on the painting. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said, smiling warmly. "It reminds us that even in darkness, light finds a way to reflect." Nodded, feeling a strange connection to the words. It was as if the artist and now this stranger were offering him a subtle lesson. Life continued, and it was full of opportunities to find beauty even after loss. Stepping out of the gallery, felt a surge of energy. He wandered aimlessly at first, letting his feet guide him, until he stumbled upon a small park with a pond. Ducks swam lazily, and families enjoyed the morning sun. He found a quiet bench and sat down, taking a deep breath. The serenity of the place was healing in ways words could not describe. For the first time in a long while, he felt grounded, part of the rhythm of life, rather than a spectator haunted by memory. Suddenly, a young boy approached him, holding a small paper boat. "Can you help me sail it?" the boy asked, eyes bright with excitement. Smiled and nodded, carefully placing the boat on the water. Together, they watched it glide across the pond, its fragile frame wobbling but staying afloat. The boy laughed, a sound so pure and unguarded that it warmed his heart. In that simple act, he realized that life's joys could be found in the smallest gestures, and that connecting with others could heal wounds that had seemed permanent. Hours passed like minutes. Spoke to the boy, learning about his dreams of becoming an explorer, traveling to distant lands, discovering hidden wonders. The child's enthusiasm was contagious, reigniting a spark of curiosity and courage in. He thought about his own life and the dreams he had set aside, weighed down by sorrow. Perhaps it was time to reclaim them, to step forward into the world with open eyes and a brave heart. As evening approached, walked toward the riverbank again. The sunset painted the sky in shades of crimson and gold, reflecting on the water like liquid fire. He sat on the grass, watching the colors change and fade, feeling the wind brush against his face. Life, he realized, was not about clinging to the past or fearing the future. It was about embracing the present, cherishing the moments that could never be repeated, and carrying memories as a source of strength rather than sorrow. A soft rustle nearby caught his attention. The young woman from the one who had smiled at him days before appeared with a gentle wave. "I thought I might find you here," she said, her eyes warm. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the river and the first stars appear in the night sky. Words were not always necessary. Sometimes, presence alone could speak volumes, offering comfort, understanding, and hope. As darkness settled over the city, felt a quiet peace envelop him. Life was still uncertain, and loss was still a part of him, but he had discovered resilience within his heart. He knew that the journey ahead would not always be easy, but for the first time in a long while, he felt ready to face it. Love, memory, and hope had merged into a delicate balance, guiding him toward a future that was waiting to be embraced. With a final glance at the stars reflecting on the river, whispered softly, "I am ready." And in that moment the night seemed less heavy, the world more alive, and his heart lighter than it had been in years. The next morning woke with a restless energy that he hadn't felt in months. The sunlight spilled through his window, filling the room with a warm glow. Today felt different, almost electric, as if the city itself was urging him to step beyond the familiar paths he had walked for so long. He dressed quickly, his heart beating with anticipation, and decided to follow a road he had never explored before. The streets were quiet at first, but gradually life began to stir, shops opening, bicycles whirring past, and the soft murmur of early risers greeting one another. Noticed details he had never seen before: a flower blooming through a crack in the sidewalk, the delicate flutter of a bird's wings against the morning sky, and the way sunlight painted patterns on the walls of old buildings. Everything seemed alive, vibrant, and full of stories waiting to be discovered. He wandered until he reached the outskirts of the city, where the buildings thinned and the horizon stretched wide and open. A small trail led into a forested area, and without hesitation he stepped onto it. The scent of pine and earth filled his senses, grounding him in the present moment. Birds sang from the branches above, and the rustle of leaves underfoot created a gentle rhythm. Felt a strange mix of fear and excitement, as though he were about to step into a new chapter of his life. After walking for some time, he stumbled upon a clearing with a small, sparkling stream cutting through it. The water moved quickly, reflecting the sunlight in dazzling patterns. Knelt beside it, letting the cool water slip through his fingers, feeling a connection to the world that went deeper than words. The forest was quiet but not empty. It pulsed with life, reminding him that adventure could be found in both grand journeys and simple discoveries. As he explored further, he noticed signs of human presence: footprints along the soft soil, a carved wooden bench under a tree, and remnants of a small campfire. Someone else had found this hidden sanctuary before him. Curiosity stirred within him, and he followed the trail, wondering who else had walked these paths and what stories they carried. Each step seemed to pull him deeper into a world that was both familiar and mysterious, a world where the past and future merged in the present moment. Hours passed and found himself at the edge of a cliff overlooking a vast valley. The view was breathtaking: rolling hills, distant rivers, and mountains standing tall against the horizon. He stood there, feeling the wind rush around him, and for the first time in a long while, he felt truly free. The valley below seemed to promise possibilities he had never imagined, adventures that could fill his soul and experiences that would shape him in ways he could not yet understand. Sitting on a rock, he reflected on his journey so far. The pain of losing had been immense, but it had also taught him resilience, patience, and the quiet power of hope. Every step, every memory, every encounter had led him here to this moment where the world felt open and waiting. Realized that healing was not a straight path. It was a journey of discovery, of moments that nudged him forward, even when he didn't know where he was going. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky in fiery shades of orange and purple, heard footsteps approaching. He turned to see the young woman from the walking toward him, her face lit with curiosity and warmth. "I followed the trail," she said softly, a small smile playing on her lips. "I thought it might lead somewhere special." They stood together in silence for a moment, watching the colors of the sky dance above the valley. Without words, they began to explore the area together, discovering hidden paths, small waterfalls, and tiny meadows filled with wildflowers. The companionship felt effortless, comforting, and exhilarating all at once. Realized that life was not only about solitary reflection, but also about sharing moments, adventures, and discoveries with others who could walk beside him, even if only for a while. Night fell and the stars emerged, blanketing the sky with shimmering light. Sitting on the cliff's edge, felt a profound sense of peace. The past would always be a part of him, and its memory would continue to guide him, but he understood now that life was about embracing new beginnings, even amidst lingering shadows. The world was vast, full of beauty, challenges, and unexpected joys, and he was ready to meet it all with an open heart. He whispered into the night, "I am ready for everything." The wind carried his words across the valley, and for the first time in a long while felt entirely alive, filled with hope, courage, and the promise of countless adventures yet to come.